When Donald Trump walked through the shattered front doors of the abandoned VA hospital, he didn't expect to find anyone alive inside, let alone a child. It was supposed to be a quick visit, a photo op for the press, a handshake with the new project manager. The building had been closed for years, left to rot like so many promises made to America's veterans. But something made him stop at the edge of the main hallway. A sound. Faint. Distant. Not the wind. Not rats. Music. No, not quite music. A hum. Pure. Fragile. Echoing up from the vents in the floor like a ghost refusing to be forgotten. Trump paused, turned to his aide. "You hear that?" The aide shook his head. "Hear what, sir?" Trump waved him off. "Get the flashlights. I'm going down there." "Down where?" "Basement." "Sir, I don't think that's safe." Trump didn't wait. He was already moving. The hallway smelled like mold and bureaucracy, old paper, wet concrete. As he reached the elevator shaft, now frozen mid-floor and draped in cobwebs, he found the maintenance stairs. Each step groaned under his weight, and with each step, the sound grew louder. It wasn't just humming now. It was singing, a child's voice, off-key, pure, singing "God Bless America" in a broken rhythm, as if guessing at the notes. Trump reached the bottom landing. A heavy metal door stood open, the boiler room. Pipes hissed and clanged like forgotten soldiers still doing their job. He stepped inside. What he saw stopped him cold. A boy, no more than 10, sitting cross-legged on an overturned bucket. His eyes were closed. No, not closed. Clouded. Sightless. The boy held a broken radio in his lap, one hand gently tapping the side as if tuning a station no one else could hear. Beside him, an old Labrador lay curled up on a torn army blanket. The dog didn't bark, just looked up, tired but calm. The boy kept singing. Trump didn't speak, not at first. He just watched. Something about the moment didn't feel real. But it was. The boy paused mid-line, tilted his head. "You're not the janitor," he said softly. "No," Trump replied, "I'm not. He brings food sometimes, but he hasn't been here in a week." "What's your name?" "Eli." "How long have you been down here, Eli?" The boy scratched the dog behind the ear. "A while." "Where's your family?" Eli didn't answer. Trump stepped closer. The floor creaked. The dog raised its head, growled, barely. Eli reached out, touched the dog's side. "It's okay, Lucky. He doesn't sound mean." Trump knelt down. "You live here?" "I stay here. I don't like the shelters. Too noisy. And they don't let dogs in." "You're blind?" Eli smiled a little. "You're smart. And you sing?" "Only when I'm not scared." Trump looked around. A mattress made from old coats, empty tuna cans, crayons melted onto the concrete, drawings on the walls, childish shapes of pianos and stars, and a man with orange hair standing in front of an American flag. "You know who I am?" Trump asked. Eli nodded. "You talk on the radio sometimes. You say you want to fix things." "I do." "Then why hasn't anyone fixed this place?" "That one hit hard." Trump looked at the cracked ceiling. "We're working on it." "You're late," Eli said, not angry, just honest. Trump didn't argue. "You like music?" Eli nodded fast. "I don't know how to play, but I hear it in my head. The good kind, the kind that feels warm." "You've never touched a real piano?" "Only in dreams." Trump stood up. "How would you like to play one?" "A real one?" Eli laughed. "Sure. And I'd like a flying dog, too." "I'm not joking. Everyone jokes." Trump crouched again. "Listen, kid, you're not supposed to be here. But maybe there's a reason I found you today." "You didn't find me. I heard you. I sang louder because I thought maybe today would be different." Trump stared at him. Eli's face, so young, so still, held a strength that didn't match his size. "Well," Trump said. Maybe today is different. He turned to his aide. Get the car. We're taking him. Where? Somewhere with a piano. Sir, we can't just… We're not leaving a blind kid in a boiler room. You want the press to find him first? The aide sighed. I'll make the call. Make two. One to the chef. That kid hasn't eaten in days. Eli smiled, unsure if this was still part of the dream. The dog licked Trump's hand. Outside, the sun broke through a sheet of gray clouds. Trump lifted the boy in his arms and whispered, You're going to play at Carnegie Hall, kid. That's a promise. Eli didn't answer. He just held tighter and hummed the rest of God Bless America into Trump's shoulder as they stepped out into the light. The ride back to Palm Beach was quiet, except for the sound of Eli humming softly in the back seat. Trump sat beside him, staring out the window, phone in hand but untouched. The dog, Lucky, lay on the floor of the SUV, head resting on Trump's shoe like it had decided he was safe. The aide up front glanced nervously in the mirror. Sir, this is going to get complicated. We'll need to contact Child Services. Not yet, Trump said. Not until we have a plan. And the media? Not a word. If this leaks before we're ready, they'll ruin it. Turn it into something it's not. And what is it exactly? Trump looked at the boy. It's a promise. That's what it is. Eli sat up. Where are we going? Somewhere better, Trump said. Somewhere with a roof, a real bed, and a piano. I'm not good at piano, Eli said. Yet, Trump replied. You're not good yet. They pulled up to a side entrance of Mar-a-Lago. No press, no security fanfare. Just Trump, the boy, the dog, and a chef waiting with a tray of food. Grilled cheese and soup, the chef said. Hope that's okay. Eli's nose twitched. Smells like heaven. Lucky barked once. Trump chuckled. Add some steak scraps for the dog. They led Eli to a small guest suite overlooking the golf course. Trump watched as the boy felt the walls with his fingers, as if memorizing the space. There's a piano in the ballroom, Trump said. I'll take you there tomorrow. I've never been in a ballroom. You will be. And one day, you'll fill it with music. What if I'm not good enough? Trump sat on the bed beside him. Kid, nobody's good enough at first. Not me, not anyone. You just try. That's what matters. You ever play music? Trump smiled. Only on Twitter. And not everyone thought it was beautiful. Eli laughed. A real laugh this time, not the shy kind. You're funny. Don't tell the media. They'll never believe it. That night, Trump couldn't sleep. He stood at his office window, watching the moonlight spill across the property. His phone buzzed, a text from his son. You still at the hospital site today? Trump stared at the message, typed back, found something, or someone. He opened his laptop, began drafting a list. First, get Eli medical care. Second, find the best piano teacher for the blind in the country. Third, keep it all quiet. For now. This wasn't about headlines. Not yet. This was about the kid, and the voice, and the fact that no one else had heard it but him. The next morning, Eli was up early. Trump found him in the ballroom, sitting at the grand piano with his fingers resting gently on the keys. Not playing, just touching. It's beautiful, Eli whispered, but it's too big. No such thing, Trump said. Come here. Let's learn something. He didn't know music. Not really. But he pulled out his phone and found a YouTube video. Beginner's Piano for the Blind. He placed the phone next to Eli. The boy listened, mimicked the notes, fumbled, tried again. By the fifth time, it was almost music. I felt that one, Eli said. It clicked in my hands. That's the one, Trump said. Keep chasing that click. Over the next 3 days, Trump made calls. Big ones. One to a blind pianist in New York who had performed at Carnegie. Another to a retired music teacher in Georgia who specialized in teaching through vibration and sound memory. He booked both to come to Palm Beach. No questions asked, just a signed NDA and a handshake. The dog never left Eli's side. Neither did Trump, not really. He checked in every hour, brought in food himself, watched quietly as Eli learned scales and hand positions, struggling and grinning and never giving up. On the fourth day, Trump walked into the ballroom to find Eli playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Not perfectly, but clearly. "Where'd you learn that?" Trump asked. "Mr. Davis," Eli said, naming the pianist. "He said it's a good first song. Everyone knows it, even if you're blind. The stars still sing if you listen." Trump nodded slowly. "That's true. You just have to believe they're there." Eli stopped playing. "Are you going to keep me?" The question came out so innocent, so raw, Trump had to sit down. "What do you mean?" "People come and go. They help for a little while. Then I go somewhere else, another shelter, another house. I don't want to go anymore." Trump looked at him. "I can't keep you like a toy, Eli. But I can stand behind you. I can fight for you. I can promise you won't be forgotten." "That's enough," Eli said. "Just don't forget." "I won't." Trump stood up, walked to the window. "You ever heard of Carnegie Hall?" "Only in a joke." "Well," Trump said, "you're going to play there." Eli giggled. "You're serious, aren't you?" "Dead serious. 6 months. You'll be ready." "I don't know if I can do it." "You don't have to know. You just have to try." That night, Trump sent a single email to a close friend in the media. No names, no details, just a line. "Sometimes the smallest voices are the ones America needs to hear most. I found one. I'm helping him reach the stage." He closed the laptop and looked out the window again. The wind rustled the flags outside. The boy was playing softly now, repeating that little song until it sounded like a lullaby drifting through a sleeping house. Trump smiled. "Good night, kid," he whispered. "You have no idea what's coming." By the end of the first week, Eli could play 3 songs by heart. Simple ones, nursery rhymes, but he played them like prayers. Trump sat in the ballroom every morning with his coffee, just listening. No cameras, no speeches, just a man watching a boy find his voice through keys he couldn't see. "The black ones feel like steps," Eli said once. "I can't see them, but I know where they are. They make the music feel like breathing." Trump had never thought about pianos like that, but now he did. Every time the boy played, the room felt lighter, like maybe hope wasn't just a word. Maybe it had a sound. Trump called in a team to discreetly renovate one of the Mar-a-Lago guest houses, not just for Eli, but for something bigger. A full music studio, soundproofed, custom-tuned piano, and a space for teachers, therapists, and even a homeschool setup. "You building a music school?" one of the workers asked. "No," Trump said. "I'm building a launch pad." News started to swirl anyway. The media caught wind that Trump was funding something unusual. Rumors of a secret music prodigy. Trump ignored them. Let the stories spin. No names were leaked, no photos, just whispers. And that's exactly how he wanted it. One morning, Trump found Eli sitting cross-legged on the ballroom floor, head tilted, listening to the silence. "Everything okay?" Trump asked. Eli didn't answer right away. "I had a dream last night," he finally said. "I was on a stage, big, like really big. Couldn't see it, but I could feel it. There were people, a lot of people. I started playing, and they stood up, all of them. Sounds like a pretty good dream. And then I woke up. And I thought, what if I mess up? Trump crouched beside him. Then they'll clap louder, because it means you're real. Eli smiled. You think they'd still clap? I guarantee it. That same afternoon, Trump called in an old friend, one of the top event organizers in New York. We're booking Carnegie Hall, he said. 6 months out. Private event. Invite only. For who? A blind kid who plays like the world's listening. You sure? I've never been more sure. The organizer laughed. Only you, Donald. Only you would do something like this. You haven't heard him play yet, Trump said. Once you do, you'll know why. Over the next month, the guest house transformed. Eli's music room had a baby grand tuned by the best in the state. Braille music sheets, custom sound panels, even a smart metronome that responded to voice commands. Eli's teachers came in waves. Mr. Davis returned twice a week. Miss Carla, a specialist in blind musical memory, came on weekends. And in between, Eli practiced, hard, hours every day. His fingers blistered, his back ached, but he never quit. Trump checked in daily, sometimes bringing food, sometimes just sitting, and sometimes not saying a word, just listening from the hallway. You think I can really do it? Eli asked one night, sitting at the kitchen table, Lucky's head resting on his lap. Carnegie? No, Trump said. Bigger. I'm not training you for one concert. I'm training you for the world. Why me? Because you didn't ask. Because you didn't complain. Because you believed. Just enough. Eli thought about that. I believed in the music, not in myself. Well, now you do both. And that's the difference. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Trump was planning something else, bigger than just one show. A new charity, Silent Strings, a fund to support blind and disabled children with musical talent but no access. No press releases yet. No flashy websites. Just a list of kids across America. And a growing fund ready to change lives. You're going to be the first, Trump told Eli, but not the last. One night, after a long practice session, Eli fell asleep in the studio with his hands still resting on the keys. Trump stood by the door, watching. Mr. Davis walked up beside him. He's got something rare. It's not just talent, it's soul. You can't teach that. I know, Trump said, and I won't let the world miss it. Outside, a storm rolled in. Rain tapped against the glass, but inside, it was warm, bright, filled with the quiet hum of potential becoming real. Trump turned to Davis. Think we can really pull this off? You already did, Davis said. You just don't see it yet. Trump looked back at the boy. One hand twitched in sleep, still moving as if dreaming in melody. He's going to need a suit, Trump said. And we're going to need a crowd. You'll get both, Davis said. But more than that, he's going to need you. Trump nodded. I'm not going anywhere. In the darkness, the piano whispered a final note, and the storm outside kept rolling, but it couldn't get in. 2 months after Donald Trump found Eli in the basement of that abandoned VA hospital, the boy played his first full song in front of a room of people. No stage, just the main ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. The audience was small, Trump's family, a few trusted veterans, the teachers, the chef, everyone who had been quietly part of the journey. Eli stood next to the grand piano, his hand resting on Lucky's head. I can't see you, he said with a nervous laugh, but I can feel you, and I think I'm ready. He sat, took a breath, then played. The room fell silent. His fingers moved slowly, carefully at first. But with every note, confidence grew. He didn't read the music. He remembered it. He felt it. The song wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful. When he hit the last note, There was a pause, like the room didn't want to exhale. Then applause, loud, real. Trump stood, clapping harder than anyone. "That," he said, "is just the beginning." That night, Trump made 2 more calls, one to the stage director at Carnegie, the other to a tailor. "He's going to need a black suit, silk lapels, something presidential." The tailor laughed. "For the boy?" "For the moment." Eli trained harder. Every morning at 8 a.m. he was at the piano. Trump had a small plaque installed above the keys. It read, "Practice like it's already your concert." Eli ran his fingers over the words every morning before starting. Mr. Davis brought in new pieces, more complex, Beethoven, Chopin, simplified arrangements at first. But Eli picked them up fast. His memory was uncanny. "He learns through touch and pattern," Carla said. "His brain maps sound like a language. It's rare. Most adults can't do what he does." Trump stood in the doorway, watching the boy glide through a slow Mozart passage. "Then we keep going." "He'll be ready," she said. "But emotionally, we need to prepare him too. That crowd at Carnegie isn't going to be quiet." "I'll be there," Trump said. "So will you. He won't be alone." Meanwhile, the Silent Strings Fund grew fast. Trump personally donated the first $1 million. Quietly. No press. Just a wire transfer. Then more came in. Friends, allies, veterans, musicians. The word spread. Trump had found a blind boy with music in his soul and a message in his hands. And now he was building a movement. Requests came in from around the country. Letters, videos, kids from Arkansas to Detroit. A girl in Texas who played cello by ear. A boy in Ohio who beatboxed using echolocation. Trump watched every tape, read every letter. "We're going to help them all," he said, "but Eli goes first." The day before the big night, Trump brought Eli into his office. "You nervous?" he asked. Eli sat quietly. "A little. I had another dream." "What kind?" "Same stage, same crowd. But this time, the lights went out." "That's okay," Trump said. "You don't need lights. You're the light." Eli smiled. "I wish my mom could see it." Trump leaned forward. "What happened to her?" "She left. After my eyes got worse. Said she couldn't do it anymore. I don't blame her. I just miss her." "Sometimes people break," Trump said. "But that doesn't mean you're the pieces. You're what's left when the storm passes." Eli nodded. "And you?" "What about me? Why are you helping me?" Trump leaned back. "Because I heard your voice when no one else did. And I believe when we're given a voice like yours, it's not just to sing, it's to wake people up. Do you think it'll work?" "I think it already has." That night, they packed. Trump flew Eli and his small team to New York on his private jet. Eli wore headphones most of the way, fingers tapping the air to a metronome only he could feel. Lucky sat in the aisle, calm as ever. When they landed, a small convoy brought them to the hotel. Trump refused the presidential suite. "Give it to the boy," he said. "Let him feel what it's like to be on top of the world before he even steps on stage." Inside the suite, Eli walked to the window. "I can't see the city," he whispered, "but I can hear it. It sounds like it's waiting for something." Trump stood beside him. "It's waiting for you." The night was quiet. Eli slept early. Trump stayed up, pacing the hotel room, watching over the city that had once made him and broken him and made him again. Now it was the boy's turn. Tomorrow, the lights would go up, and America would hear what he had heard alone in a dark basement. A blind boy, a voice, a second chance, and a promise that was about to come true. The morning of the concert, New York City buzzed louder than usual. The sidewalks around Carnegie Hall were already packed by sunrise. People didn't know the boy's name, just the rumor that Donald Trump had discovered a blind musical prodigy, that he was playing tonight, that the concert wasn't about politics. It was about something more. Trump arrived early with Eli and Lucky through the back entrance. No press, no fanfare. Inside, the hall was quiet, majestic, alive with history. Eli stood center stage, running his hands over the piano bench. "Feels cold," he whispered. "It's not," Trump said. "It's waiting for you." Technicians adjusted lights. Sound teams tested acoustics. Trump handled it all like a general before battle. Eli's teachers arrived. Davis, Carla, even the chef from Mar-a-Lago who brought homemade chicken soup in a thermos. "It's tradition now," he said, smiling. Eli sipped slowly. "Feels like home." The crowd began to arrive. Invitations had gone out to veterans, teachers, parents of disabled children, musicians, donors to Silent Strings. But some showed up on their own, strangers who had heard whispers. Trump reserved the best seats for kids. First 3 rows filled with children in wheelchairs, with hearing aids, with walking sticks and bright eyes. "They need to see someone like them up there," he told the usher. "They need to feel like it's possible." 30 minutes before showtime, Trump pulled Eli aside backstage. "You ready?" Eli nodded. "I think so. My fingers are buzzing." "That's good. Means your soul's warming up." "You going to watch?" "Front row, not blinking." Eli laughed. "Don't blink too hard. I might mess up." "Then mess up and keep going. They'll love you more for it." The stage manager signaled. "Showtime." Trump gave the boy one last pat on the back. "Go make history, kid." Eli stepped out alone. The spotlight found him. He stood still, hand on Lucky's back, head slightly bowed. The audience hushed. The silence was total. Then, a single note. Then, 2. The song began. It was a piece Davis had arranged just for tonight. A blend of classical and gospel. Joyful, soaring, soulful. Eli played like he wasn't just hearing the notes, but like he was the notes. The room held its breath. People leaned forward. Some closed their eyes. Some wept. The blind boy played not as a performer, but as a messenger. When the final note faded, there was a pause. Trump stood, hands clapping. Then the whole room followed. A standing ovation. 3 full minutes. Eli smiled, bowed his head, then whispered, "Thank you." Backstage, Trump met him with open arms. "You did it." "I didn't fall off the bench." Eli grinned. "I didn't miss the ending." "You did more than that. You just lit a fire in this country." "Did you hear them?" "I did." They stood up. They always will now. That night, Trump posted a single video to Truth Social. Just Eli playing. No caption, no hashtags. Just the sound of a boy who had no sight, but gave vision to thousands. The video exploded. Within hours, it was on every platform. People demanded to know who the boy was. News anchors scrambled, musicians reached out, letters poured in. And Trump said nothing. Not yet. Because he wasn't done. Back at Mar-a-Lago the next morning, Trump stood in the ballroom again. The piano was empty. Eli was sleeping in late. Lucky curled by the fireplace. Carla turned to Trump. "What now?" "Now we build the rest," he said. "The other kids, the other voices." "And Eli?" "He becomes the spark. Every concert from now on starts with his name." "You sure this isn't too big?" "No," Trump said. "It's finally the right size." Outside, the Florida sun rose. Inside, the echoes of Carnegie still lingered. Trump stood in the light, already planning the next tour. And somewhere in a quiet guest house down the hall, a boy dreamed in melody again. This time not of what might be, but of what already was. 2 weeks after Carnegie, The world knew his name. Eli Barrett, 10 years old, blind, formerly homeless. Now a viral sensation. Music blogs called him a miracle. Morning shows played his clips daily. Even late-night comedians, usually harsh toward Trump, paused their jokes to show the video. "Say what you want about Trump," one host admitted, "but this is something else." Trump didn't gloat. He stayed quiet. Let the music speak. He wasn't looking for applause. He was building something permanent. Silent Strings launched officially the following Monday. Website, donation portal, a board of veterans, teachers, parents, and musicians. But no big sponsors yet. Trump didn't want corporations. He wanted patriots. He went live once. A video on his personal platform, sitting beside Eli, both in chairs, no script. "You all saw what happened," Trump said. "This young man didn't just play piano. He played America's heart. And there are more like him, thousands. Kids we never hear, because nobody's listening." Eli added quietly, "Now you are." Donations exploded, not from the rich, from working folks. $20 from a farmer in Iowa, 50 from a grandmother in Tennessee, 1,000 from a retired Marine who said music saved his life, too. Within a month, Silent Strings funded music kits for blind kids in 12 cities. Practice keyboards, Braille songbooks, local instructors. No red tape, no media circus, just action. Meanwhile, Eli kept playing. He performed for veterans on Memorial Day, gave a speech at a school for the deaf, where he said, "Sometimes we don't hear sound, but we feel it. Music isn't about your ears, it's about your heart." He toured churches, community centers, never charged a cent. Trump always traveled with him, sometimes visibly, sometimes just watching from the wings. "Why do you come to all my shows?" Eli asked once. "Because I promised," Trump said, "and because it reminds me what real strength looks like." But not everyone was cheering. A few pundits started asking questions, accused Trump of using the boy as a distraction, said it was a PR stunt. One headline read, "Trump's musical mascot?" Trump didn't respond, but Eli did. In a live stream watched by millions, Eli sat at a small upright piano and said, "Some people think I'm being used, but they're wrong. I'm being heard, and that's different." He played the national anthem in a slow, trembling style that made grown men cry. After that, the critics got quieter. One night, Trump and Eli sat on the Mar-a-Lago balcony. The moon high, the waves gentle, Lucky asleep beside them. "You think they'll forget me?" Eli asked. "Not a chance," Trump said. "Why not?" "Because you made them feel something, and people don't forget what makes them feel again." Eli nodded. "What's next?" Trump smiled. "Next we go bigger. Next we find the next Eli." "How?" "With your help. You're not just a performer now. You're a scout." That week, Trump and Eli went on tour. Not for concerts, for auditions, Silent Strings bus, red, white, and blue stripes. Trump's team called it the Listening Road. They visited small towns, held open calls at schools, let any child try a piano, a guitar, even a drum set. If the kid had heart, they stayed on the list. By the end of summer, they had 30 kids, all unique, all ready. Trump held a summit in Nashville, called it Voices We Forgot. 30 children performed. Not all perfect, but every one of them fearless. The finale? Eli at the grand piano, with 6 other blind students playing in harmony. When it ended, the crowd rose as one. Veterans saluted. Teachers wept. And Trump stood in the front row, hands over his heart. Later that night, backstage, Eli hugged him. "You really did it," he said. "No," Trump replied. "We did." The boy smiled. You know what I want next? What's that? I want to teach. Trump raised his eyebrows. Already? Yeah. There's a kid in Arizona who reminds me of me. He doesn't talk much, but I think he hears music too. Trump clapped him on the shoulder. Then let's get you to Arizona. And they did. Because once you hear a voice like Eli's, you never stop listening. You just find more voices to bring into the light. Arizona was dry and wide and quiet, in a way Florida never was. Eli stepped off the plane with Lucky at his side, sunglasses on, tapping his cane carefully as Trump followed behind. They came to see a boy named Mateo, 10 years old, legally blind, nonverbal, living in a foster home outside Tucson. His teacher had sent a video to Silent Strings. No words, just Mateo sitting beside a broken keyboard, his fingers tapping out Beethoven's Ode to Joy, one note at a time by memory. The moment Eli saw it, he told Trump, "That's the one." Trump called the school that same day, cleared the schedule, booked the jet, and now they were here. The meeting was quiet. Mateo didn't speak, didn't smile, but when he saw Eli, he walked straight up and touched Eli's face, then his hands, then the dog, then the piano they'd brought with them. He sat, played, no warm-up, no hesitation, just music. Eli stood beside him, stunned. He knows it, better than I do. Trump watched from a chair near the wall. So teach him. Eli turned. Now? Why wait? For 2 hours they stayed in that classroom. No reporters, no stage. Just a blind boy learning from another blind boy how to feel through sound. Mateo didn't say a word, but his fingers spoke volumes. When they left, Trump knelt beside him. We'll be back, he promised. This is only the beginning. Back on the jet, Eli was quiet. Then he said, There are too many. We can't help them all. Trump looked at him. Eli, you were in a boiler room, alone, and you made it to Carnegie. You think we stop now? Eli shook his head. I just want to help faster. Then we build faster. Over the next month, Silent Strings expanded into 5 more states. Trump called governors personally. Some rolled their eyes. Others cried on the phone. One said, I never thought I'd say this, but you're doing God's work. Trump replied, I'm just keeping a promise. They launched local chapters, partnered with small music stores, created a touring staff that could visit blind and disabled children who couldn't travel. Eli became the face of the campaign, but Trump was always the backbone. He handled the legal side, the politics, the critics, and there were critics. One op-ed said, Trump is using blind children as a redemption arc. Another headline read, Too little, too late? Trump didn't flinch. Let them write, he told his aide. While they write, we're writing songs. The media couldn't stop the movement. Not when it was real. Not when thousands of kids were now touching instruments for the first time. Not when the mailroom overflowed with letters from parents. One mother wrote, I never voted for you, but you saved my daughter's life with this program. She wakes up happy. She wants to live again. Trump kept the letter, framed it, hung it next to Eli's first drawing of a piano, pulled from the wall of that VA basement. And then came the invite. The White House. Not a campaign stunt. A request from the current administration to recognize Silent Strings for its impact on children with disabilities. Trump paused, considered, said number. Instead, he held his own event. At the Lincoln Memorial. At night. Floodlights. A single stage. Dozens of kids. All playing. Some with violins, some with flutes. Most with keyboards. And in the middle, Eli, his eyes still blind, but his vision clearer than ever. Trump stood beside him before the crowd, Veterans, teachers, truckers, parents, kids. We're here tonight not because of power, Trump said. Not because of politics, but because one boy sang in the dark, and someone listened. And now we all hear it. That's America. You don't walk past the broken. You lift them. You hand them the microphone. The concert was broadcast on national TV, unplanned, unfiltered. And by morning, over 80 million people had watched. Silent Strings received more donations in 48 hours than any music charity had seen in a decade. Eli received offers from every major record label. He turned them all down. "I'm not here to be famous," he said. "I'm here to help people hear themselves." Trump smiled when he heard that. "That's leadership," he whispered, "and that's what this country needs." Then he turned to his aide and said, "Find the next town. We're not done yet." The next town was in Kentucky, a small coal mining community still limping from shutdowns and promises never kept. Trump had visited once years ago during the campaign trail, but this was different. No rallies, no cameras, just a school gym filled with folding chairs and old speakers. Eli walked in with Lucky beside him, cane tapping the floor with each step. The crowd was quiet, unsure what to expect. Some had driven 2 hours just to see if the rumors were true. A blind boy who could play like angels. Trump stood at the side of the stage. He didn't speak, didn't wave. Just watched as Eli sat down and rested his hands on a worn-out keyboard they'd brought from the bus. Then he played. Not a flashy song, just Amazing Grace. But it hit hard, raw, real. When he reached the final note, he paused, then whispered into the mic, "I was underground once, too. Just like this town. But someone heard me. And now I'm here to listen to you." The room broke. Applause, tears, and silence again. That night, 3 kids stayed after. One girl with tremors in her hands but perfect pitch. One boy who stuttered unless he sang. And one teenager who hadn't spoken in a year until he heard Eli play. Trump spoke to each family, quietly, respectfully. No promises, just possibilities. "Let us help," he told them. "Let's see where this can go." On the ride back to the hotel, Trump leaned back in his seat and said, "This isn't music anymore. This is healing." Eli nodded. "I think people are remembering who they are. That's what the music does." "You think we can keep it going?" "Only if we keep listening." Over the next few months, the Silent Strings Tour hit 27 towns. From border towns in Texas to forgotten schools in Appalachia. From inner-city rec centers to desert reservations. Everywhere they went, Eli played first, and Trump followed with action, organizing local programs, funding teachers, connecting kids with gear. No politics, no speeches, just work. And people noticed. Silent Strings became a household name, a movement. But Trump still refused to let it be branded. "It's not about me," he kept saying. "It's about what we missed." And then came the call from the United Nations, an invitation to speak at a global youth summit on disability and the arts. Trump hesitated. It wasn't his kind of stage, but Eli wanted to go. "They need to know," he said. "They need to see what happens when someone in power listens to someone without any." So they went. Geneva, packed room, dozens of languages, hundreds of diplomats, and one blind boy who walked to the piano alone and played America the Beautiful, so slowly, so reverently, that people forgot which country they were from. They just listened. Then Trump stepped forward. No teleprompter, just him and a microphone. "I was President of the United States. I've stood behind every kind of podium there is, but I never really understood the power of the human voice until I heard one singing in the dark of a broken VA hospital. We forgot how to listen. This boy reminded me. Now I'm reminding you. Don't build more walls around the forgotten. Hand them instruments instead, and step out of the way. Standing ovation. Every seat, every flag. That night, CNN ran the headline, "Trump delivers the speech of his life and says almost nothing about himself." Back home, letters came in by the thousands. Children writing thank you notes, parents asking for help, music teachers offering to volunteer, truckers offering to drive gear cross-country for free. It wasn't a trend, it was a wave, a quiet revolution led by a child who couldn't see but helped the country see again. And a man who once led the free world, but now found deeper purpose building stages instead of platforms. Back in Florida, Trump and Eli sat by the water again. Lucky snored at their feet. "You changed me," Trump said. "I didn't mean to," Eli replied. "You didn't have to. You just did what most people forget to do." "What's that?" "You listened." Trump stared out at the waves. "I guess the question is, what now?" Eli smiled. "Now we go find the next one." And with that, they stood. And somewhere in America, in some forgotten corner, another child waited in silence, hoping someone might hear them too. The next child wasn't waiting in silence. He was screaming. In a detention center outside St. Louis, a 12-year-old named Jaden was locked in a room after a violent outburst. He'd lost his parents in a fire, refused foster homes, refused to speak. The only thing he wanted was his old drum set, now ashes. A caseworker, tired and underpaid, sent a message to Silent Strings, not asking for miracles, just wondering if maybe music could do what therapy hadn't. Trump read the file twice, then called Eli. "You ever teach drums?" Eli laughed. "I barely play piano." "Let's go anyway." They arrived unannounced. No press, no suits. Just Trump in a windbreaker, and Eli with Lucky at his side. The guards didn't know what to make of it. "Is this really happening?" one whispered. "Yeah," said the supervisor. "And we better not screw it up." They met Jaden in a small gray room. He sat on the floor, arms crossed, eyes full of fire and fear. Trump walked in first. "You hate this place?" Jaden nodded. "Good. So did I when I was a kid. But here's the deal. If you throw another chair, you'll never get out. If you play the one I brought, I'll listen." He opened the door. Eli rolled in a small practice drum kit. Rubber pads. Portable. Simple. Jaden didn't move. Eli stepped forward. "You ever feel like there's thunder inside you, and you don't know where to put it?" Jaden looked up, slowly, then stood, sat behind the drums, picked up the sticks. No instruction, just instinct. He played. Raw, loud, uncontrolled. But it was rhythm. It was pain with direction. Trump watched it all. "Let's get him a real set," he said. "Let's get him out of here." "Not so fast," said the director. "There's paperwork, rules." "Then break them," Trump said. "The kid just asked for a second chance without saying a word. Don't make him ask twice." Within 2 weeks, Jaden was in a foster home with a music room and a drum coach. Within a month, he was performing in the Silent Strings Junior Band alongside other kids like him. And within 3 months, he was smiling, laughing, still quiet, but not broken. Eli called him the heartbeat of the group. Trump called him the thunder that woke us up. Word kept spreading. But it wasn't just the music anymore. It was the movement. Silent Strings began sponsoring community concerts in small towns, led by kids, free for everyone. They weren't just playing songs. They were telling stories, stories of survival, stories of faith. And people came. Red states, blue states, Towns that had never agreed on anything suddenly stood together in school gyms and fairgrounds to watch blind and disabled kids play with more heart than most professionals. Trump rarely took the mic, but when he did, he only said one thing. We almost forgot them. Now we never will again. The media started calling it the Redemption Tour. Trump ignored the headlines, but Eli kept a scrapbook, taped in every photo, every letter, every city. You ever think about what would have happened if you didn't go into that VA hospital? Eli asked one night. Trump was quiet. Then he said, I think about it every day. I think about how close I came to walking past the most important sound I ever heard. So, what do we do now? Now, Trump said, we make sure no one else gets walked past again. And so they kept going. Week after week, kid after kid. In Louisiana, they met a girl who played violin with one arm. In Wyoming, a boy who built a guitar out of scrap wood. In Detroit, a deaf teenager who composed songs using vibrations and heartbeats. Each time, Trump and Eli showed up. Not as saviors, as believers. You don't have to be fixed to be powerful, Trump told one child. You just have to be heard. Silent Strings became more than music. It became testimony. In churches, schools, old theaters, even prisons, inmates sat in silence as blind children played Bach. Gang members cried during gospel covers. Police chiefs offered to fund music programs in juvenile halls. Something had changed, not just in the children, but in the adults. They started listening again, and in the center of it all, Eli, still blind, still humble, but now the clearest voice in a nation rediscovering what it means to care. And behind him, always, Donald Trump, the builder who traded walls for bridges, and knew that sometimes the most powerful thing a man can do is kneel beside a child and say, I see you, even if no one else did. Winter came early in Montana. Snow layered the road as the Silent Strings bus pulled into a frozen town with more cattle than cars. Trump stood by the window watching his breath fog the glass. Place looks like it gave up, he said. Eli stood beside him, gloved hands wrapped around a mug of hot chocolate. Then let's give it something back. They were here for one boy, Sam, 14, autistic, selectively mute. But according to his music teacher, he had perfect pitch and could identify any chord within seconds. He just didn't trust people, didn't trust words, but music, he trusted. The school was small, underfunded. The band room was more like a storage closet with dented brass instruments and warped sheet music. Sam was already there when they arrived. Sitting at a dusty upright piano, eyes closed, fingers hovering but not touching. Trump entered first. Mind if we join you? Sam didn't move. Eli walked in next, no words. Just stepped to the piano and began playing a slow melody. Something soft, safe. Sam listened, then added his own notes, not mimicking, harmonizing. It was a conversation without voices. By the time they finished, Sam was smiling. You think you can work with that? Trump asked the music teacher. The teacher wiped tears from her eyes. He's never done that with anyone. Good, Trump said. Then we're just getting started. Sam became the first Silent Strings ambassador for neurodiverse youth. Not a performer, a sound engineer. Trump hired a team to build a mobile studio where kids like Sam could create, mix, and compose without needing to speak. Not every voice uses words, Trump said. Some build worlds out of sound. Meanwhile, Eli's story continued to grow. A best-selling book was released, written in his words, in Braille and audio. It was called I Heard the Light. Trump refused any credit. This is his book, he told publishers. I'm just a chapter in it. But everywhere Eli went, Trump's fingerprints were there. In the buses, The speakers, the meals, the funding, the prayers, the backstage pep talks where Trump reminded scared kids that courage isn't being fearless. It's doing the thing even while afraid. One night, after a concert in Kansas, a small boy walked up to Trump. "Are you really Donald Trump?" Trump knelt down. "That's what they tell me." "You used to be on TV?" "I know. Now you're helping us?" Trump looked the boy in the eyes. "That's better than TV. Are you a hero?" "No," Trump said. "I just stopped walking past the people that matter." The boy nodded and hugged him without warning. Trump froze, then hugged back, slowly, strongly. Eli watched from a distance, hand resting on Lucky's head. "He's changing," Eli whispered. Carla nodded beside him. "No," she said. "He's becoming." In the spring, Silent Strings held its first national conference. Nashville, 3 days, over 500 kids, music, workshops, testimonies, and one main stage performance where Eli played a new piece he wrote for Trump. It was called "The Man Who Listened." Eli stood at the piano. "He found me in a basement. He didn't just take me out. He gave me a path. Then he walked it with me. This song is his story, too." When he played, no one moved, not even the air. And when he finished, Trump stood in the front row, not clapping, but saluting. That night, Trump and Eli sat alone on the edge of the stage. "You still remember the boiler room?" Trump asked. "Every night." "Me too." "Do you think this will last?" "If we do it right." "How do we do it right?" Trump looked up at the rafters. "We keep showing up. We keep listening. And we keep building." Eli leaned back on his elbows. "You ever think about what you want people to remember you for?" "Sometimes." "And?" "Not the towers, not the campaigns, not the name." "Then what?" Trump turned to him. "You." And with that, they sat in silence. Just a man and a boy, and a stage full of echoes that started in a basement and now reached the hearts of a nation. Summer brought heat and headlines. Silent Strings had now reached 41 states. Over 3,000 kids had been placed with instruments. More than 800 had received one-on-one instruction. Some cities were requesting full academies. Others begged for just one teacher. Trump's team was overwhelmed. The foundation had grown faster than anyone expected. "It's not just a music charity anymore," Carla told him during a planning meeting. "It's a movement, and you're at the center." Trump shook his head. "Number Eli is." But Eli wasn't in the room. He was in the hospital. A stomach bug turned serious. An infection set in. He was stable, but weak. Trump canceled his schedule and flew out immediately. He walked into the children's hospital unannounced, wearing a simple jacket and carrying a bag of Eli's favorite snacks. "Room 423, the nurse whispered, still stunned. Trump knocked once and entered. Eli looked pale, tired, but smiled when he heard the footsteps. "That you?" "Yeah, kid. Told you I don't miss your concerts, even the ones in hospital rooms." Eli chuckled weakly. "Not much of a show today." "Doesn't matter. I'm here for the encore." They sat quietly. Lucky slept near the foot of the bed. Monitors beeped gently. "You scared?" Trump asked. "A little." "Me too." "Really?" "Yeah. But I've learned something from you." "What's that?" "Fear isn't failure. It's just faith waiting to be proven." Eli nodded. "I'm going to get better." "You will. And when you do, we're going back on the road. You've got students to teach." "I had a dream last night," Eli whispered. "I was standing on a hill playing music into the wind, and behind me were thousands of kids with instruments. I couldn't see their faces, but I could feel them, all of them." "That's not a dream," Trump said. "That's a glimpse." "Of what?" "Of what's coming." 2 days later, Eli was discharged. Trump had the hospital send the bill to Mar-a-Lago, quietly. No fanfare. Just a handwritten note in the envelope. Don't thank me. Just keep playing. By fall, they were back on the road. But something had changed. Trump began letting Eli speak more during events. Not just play. The boy's voice was stronger, clearer, more confident. He told stories about the kids they met. He challenged the crowd. He said things like, "Don't wait for a miracle. Be someone's miracle." Trump watched with quiet pride. "He's becoming a leader," Carla said. "He already was," Trump replied. "Now the world sees it." In October, they received an invitation to perform at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., a tribute concert for disabled veterans. Trump hesitated. He hadn't been back in that city since the end of his term. But Eli wanted to go. "These are the men who gave me the freedom to find music," he said. "I owe them my song." So they went. No press coverage. Just rows of men and women in wheelchairs, prosthetics, and uniforms. The lights dimmed. Eli took the stage. No fanfare, no intro, just silence. Then he played Battle Hymn of the Republic. Slow, reverent, powerful. And when he was done, the veterans stood. Some with help, some with tears. One saluted. Trump stood in the back, eyes wet, heart full. "That's what a real national anthem sounds like," he whispered. After the concert, a young soldier approached. He'd lost both legs overseas. He looked Trump in the eye. "Sir, I didn't vote for you, but what you've done here, I'll remember this till the day I die." Trump shook his hand. "It's not about who you voted for. It's about what we fight for. And this kid, we're all fighting for him now." On the plane ride home, Eli looked out the window even though he couldn't see. "You think this ends one day?" he asked. "Not if I can help it," Trump said. "The music never ends. It just changes hands." And with that, they flew home, back to the sound of America waking up. Winter brought a stillness that felt earned. Silent Strings had become more than a nonprofit. It was a community, a force. Kids across the country wore pins shaped like tiny music notes with Braille letters etched into the surface. They didn't call themselves students. They called themselves listeners. Trump's team had to restructure operations just to handle the momentum. More buses, more gear, more volunteers. Retired veterans stepped in as road managers. Music therapists offered sessions for free. MAGA hat-wearing truckers volunteered to haul equipment across state lines. "This," Trump said, looking at a wall filled with photos of children and towns, "is America's encore." Eli was thriving, stronger now, speaking regularly, teaching lessons virtually. He had a small studio built into a converted barn near Mar-a-Lago. He called it the Quiet House, not because it was silent, but because it was sacred. A place where scared kids could come and feel safe, then start to sing. Trump would visit once a week, sometimes bringing food, sometimes sitting and watching, sometimes asking questions that had nothing to do with music. "What's your biggest fear now?" he asked one day. Eli leaned back in his chair. "That we built something people only care about when it's new. That they'll move on." Trump shook his head. "They don't move on from hope. They just forget they need it until it finds them again." In January, something unexpected happened. A rival politician tweeted that Trump's efforts with Silent Strings were a distraction from the real issues. A sentimental sideshow. Trump didn't tweet back, but Eli did. If helping blind and broken kids sing again is a sideshow, maybe you're in the wrong tent. The tweet went viral. Trump grinned. "You just handled that better than I ever did." "Well," Eli said, "you taught me how." The controversy backfired. More donations came in, more volunteers signed up, and then something nobody expected happened. The Vatican sent an invitation, a private concert, inside St. Peter's Basilica. Eli would be the first American child ever to play solo piano beneath the Great Dome. Trump paced when he got the call. "Rome," he said. "That's big." Eli nodded. "Then, let's go big." They flew out with a small team. Trump, Carla, Davis, Lucky, and a few of the kids Eli had mentored along the way. No press, no handlers, just a quiet sense of reverence. The performance was closed door. Dozens of cardinals, a few nuns, and one blind boy at a white baby grand. He played Ave Maria. Then, God Bless America. Then a song he wrote himself called Still Here. When he finished, the room stayed quiet, until someone began to hum the melody back to him. Then another. Then another. Soon the basilica was filled with the sound of harmony from people who hadn't planned to sing. It wasn't a concert. It was a moment. A movement. And Trump stood in the back, head bowed. "He's doing what presidents can't," Carla whispered. "He's uniting souls." On the flight home, Trump wrote a note on hotel stationery. He handed it to Eli. "What is it?" Eli asked. "Open it when we land." Hours later, back on American soil, Eli unfolded the note. It read, "When I found you, you were alone. Now, wherever you go, the country follows. I was once a builder of towers. Now I build stages, because you showed me how." Eli folded the note. "You ever regret it?" he asked. "Leaving politics?" Number, choosing this. Trump looked out the window. Not for a second. This is the real campaign, and we're winning it one song at a time. That spring, they announced the next phase. Silent Strings Academy. A permanent school. Boarding, training, outreach, scholarships. Eli would be its first artistic director. Trump would fund it personally. "No government strings," he said. "Only music ones." And in the press release, there was no mention of party. No talk of elections. Just a headline that read, "The Boy Who Taught a Nation to Listen." And beneath it, a photo. Trump standing behind Eli. Both of them smiling, not at a crowd, but at each other. The ribbon cutting for Silent Strings Academy was quiet by design. No reporters, no motorcades, just 50 kids standing in front of a two-story building painted in soft colors, with wind chimes hanging from every corner. The school sat on 10 acres of peaceful land near the edge of Palm Beach, surrounded by trees and walking paths. A plaque at the entrance read, "This is where silence ends. This is where stories begin." Trump stood beside Eli as he held the oversized scissors. "You ready?" Trump asked. Eli smiled. "Been ready my whole life." With a single snip, the ribbon dropped. The kids cheered. Lucky barked. A new chapter began. Inside, the academy had rooms named after the first children they helped. The Sam Studio, the Mateo Hall, the Jaden Wing. Each space told a story. Instruments from all over the world lined the walls. Braille signs were everywhere. The main performance space was built in the round. No stage, no spotlight. Just a circle where every child was equal. Trump walked through the halls slowly that first day, touched the doorknobs, listened to the quiet. "It's like a temple," he said. "For sound." Eli nodded. "Every time they play, something broken in the world gets healed." Over the next few weeks, applications flooded in. From every state, even internationally. Teachers volunteered. Parents uprooted their lives just to move closer. One veteran who'd lost his sight in Iraq offered to teach percussion. A former concert pianist who'd suffered a stroke volunteered to mentor. "I thought my life was over," he told Eli. "Then I heard your story." and I remembered I still had something left. Trump watched the transformation unfold with pride, but also clarity. "We're not just fixing lives," he said in a board meeting. "We're building leaders." Eli began teaching full-time. Not just music, leadership, confidence, empathy. He walked through every room daily, greeting each student by name. They called him Mr. Eli, even though he still looked like one of them. One evening, Trump walked into the practice room and found a boy crying at the keyboard. Eli was beside him. "He doesn't think he's good enough," Eli explained. "He's wrong," Trump said, sitting beside them. "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to play through the fear." The boy nodded, tried again, got better. That moment wasn't on camera, but it changed a life, and that's why they built the place. In early summer, they held their first student showcase. Families packed the campus lawn. Kids from the school performed under string lights hung from oak trees. Trump sat front row, hands clasped. One by one, the students took their turn. Some fumbled. Some froze. But no one laughed. No one left. They waited, encouraged, cried, clapped. And when it was over, Eli took the mic. This school was built on a promise that no voice should be left in the dark, that no silence is too loud to break. We're not just musicians. We're reminders that hope is never a lost cause. Trump joined him on stage. "Eli saved my life," he said. "And now, through him, we're going to save thousands more. You want to change America? Don't just shout louder. Listen deeper. Start with a child who no one believed in. Then believe in them so hard they can't help but believe in themselves." The audience stood, not because they were told, because they felt it. That night, Trump sat alone in the courtyard. Eli found him. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "About how loud it was when I found you, and how quiet it is now, but in the best way." "You think this will last?" Eli asked. Trump looked up at the stars. "I think as long as music exists, hope will. And you made sure it'll never stop playing." They sat in silence. No words needed. Somewhere inside, a child practiced scales. Another tapped a rhythm. Another just listened. And in that stillness, a nation's heart kept beating. The following fall, something unexpected happened. Eli was nominated for the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the youngest nominee in history. When the call came in, Trump took it in his study, standing beside the same wall where he'd once framed Eli's first piano sketch from the VA basement. "I appreciate the gesture," Trump told the committee, "but if he accepts it, it's on one condition: he performs first." The committee agreed. The ceremony was scheduled for early December. A quiet, dignified setting. Not political, not performative. Just a child who had turned his brokenness into a national anthem. When Trump told Eli the news, the boy didn't speak at first, just held the paper in his hands. Then he whispered, "You really think I deserve this?" Trump put a hand on his shoulder. "Kid, if I could rewrite the definition of freedom in the Constitution, I'd put your name right in the middle of it." The week before the ceremony, the Silent Strings Academy hosted a prelude event. All 400 current students performed in shifts. The campus became a living concert. Music in every hallway. Rhythm in every step. Veterans walked the grounds in tears. Teachers clapped until their hands hurt. And Trump, usually composed, stood at the edge of the practice yard, glassy-eyed. "We started with nothing but a broken boiler room," he said to Carla. "And look at this now." "It's more than a school," she said. "It's a resurrection." The night before the ceremony, Trump sat alone with Eli in the studio. "You nervous?" he asked. "Yeah." "Good. Nervous means you care. You ever get nervous? Still do, every time you walk on stage. Eli smiled. I'm going to play something new tomorrow. I haven't even played it for you. That's bold. It's called The Listener. It's for you. Trump blinked, looked down, cleared his throat. Then I guess I better listen carefully. The ceremony day arrived. The room was packed with dignitaries, veterans, artists, and students. Trump didn't sit in the front. He chose the side row, away from the cameras. He watched as Eli took the stage. No cane, no guide, just confidence, just grace. Eli spoke briefly. This award isn't for me. It's for every kid who ever felt invisible, for every child who waited in the dark, hoping someone might hear them, and for the man who did. Then he played, The Listener. Soft at first, then fuller. Melodies layered with strength, warmth, pain, and triumph. It told a story without words. The boy in the dark, the man with the voice, the music that grew between them. When it ended, there was silence. Then a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. Trump didn't move. He couldn't. His chest rose, fell, and rose again. When Eli received the medal, he reached behind his neck and placed it over Trump's head instead. The room gasped, but Eli simply said, "You heard me first, and gave me the chance to be heard by others. That's what freedom looks like." Trump tried to speak. Couldn't. Just nodded. The room erupted. Reporters tried to frame it politically, but the footage said it all. A boy without sight, a man with power, and the kind of exchange that rewrote what both of them meant. That night, back at the academy, Trump stood alone in the performance hall, the stage empty, the lights low. Carla approached. "You okay?" "I just realized something," he said. "What's that?" This whole thing. It's bigger than a comeback. It's a calling. You think you were meant to find him? No doubt in my mind. So what now? Now we raise more voices, build more schools, train more ears to hear what the world's been missing. And in the distance, down the hallway, Eli played something soft, a lullaby, a blessing, a promise, and Trump listened like it was the first time all over again. The new year brought new beginnings. Silent Strings Academy announced plans to expand. 2 new campuses, one in Ohio, the other in Texas. Trump personally visited both sites. Old buildings, empty halls. He walked through each room slowly, nodding, pointing, imagining. "This one becomes a sound lab," he said. "That one's a practice room. And this," he said, while tapping a crumbling wall, "this becomes a sanctuary." Eli traveled with him, no longer just the student, now a co-founder. Kids whispered his name when he passed, not out of fame, but respect. He was proof that broken beginnings didn't mean broken futures. In Ohio, Trump met a girl who wrote music with her toes. In Texas, a deaf boy who could replicate any rhythm by touch. Trump watched them, encouraged them, sat with their parents, sometimes held their hands when words fell short. "It's not just about sound," he told a group of new staff. "It's about dignity." That spring, they held a national audition online. Thousands of video submissions. Kids rapping from small apartments, singing in parking lots, beating rhythms on trash cans and tabletops. Eli watched every one, took notes, categorized talent, sent feedback, and Trump, between travel and calls, watched right beside him. "These kids aren't just waiting," Trump said. "They're fighting. Every note is a punch against despair." They selected 100 finalists, flew them to Florida, for the first ever Festival of the Forgotten, a 3-day retreat. No competition, just celebration. Families cried, kids hugged, Music echoed through the trees like church bells at sunrise. And on the final night, Eli stood center stage with Trump at his side. "We weren't supposed to be here," Eli said, "but someone changed the rules. Someone said we mattered. So now, we change the rules too." Trump took the mic. "This country forgot a lot of people, but no more. We don't just build back. We build better, stronger, together. And we start with the kids no one expected anything from." One parent, a farmer from Arkansas, walked up after the event, shook Trump's hand. "Sir, I didn't vote for you, but I would now, because I saw what you did. You didn't save my son's music. You saved my belief in him." Trump nodded. "That's the only campaign I'll ever care about again." That summer, Trump quietly established a legacy trust fund, $100 million to ensure Silent Strings would never rely on grants or politics. It would belong to the people, forever. When Eli found out, he didn't say much, just hugged him, long, tight. "Why?" he asked. "Because I don't want this to end when I do," Trump said. "You lit a fire. I'm just making sure the wind doesn't blow it out." And then came a call from the Library of Congress. They wanted to archive the movement, collect stories, record performances, interview students. "Not to preserve history," the director said, "to protect it, so future generations remember what one man and one boy did with nothing but a promise." Trump agreed, but under one condition: "Don't call it my legacy, call it ours." That fall, Trump returned to the VA hospital, the same one where it all started. It was being rebuilt now, turned into a community center for veterans and children. Music therapy included. Eli joined him. They stood at the basement door. It had been sealed, but Trump had the key. They walked down the stairs together. The air was cleaner now, the boiler room empty. But you could still feel something in the walls. Eli touched the corner where he used to sleep. "It feels smaller now," he whispered. "That's because you've grown," Trump said. They didn't stay long, just long enough. Before leaving, Trump taped a small plaque to the wall. It read, "This is where I stopped walking past." And then they left, side by side. Two figures who rewrote a nation's soundtrack. One note, one child, one promise at a time. The final season of the tour began in autumn. Leaves fell, air cooled, and yet the crowds grew. Every small town seemed to have someone who had been touched by the music. A cousin, a student, a veteran, a child. Trump and Eli stopped using hotels. They stayed with families, slept in guest rooms, ate homemade chili and cornbread with strangers who now felt like neighbors. "This is America," Trump said one night around a campfire. "Not the noise, not the headlines. This, people helping people because they see each other." Eli nodded, hands resting on Lucky's back. "That's what music does. It turns strangers into believers." The tour ended in the same city where it all began, Washington, D.C. This time, not at the White House, but at the Lincoln Memorial steps. Thousands showed up. No tickets, no marketing, just word of mouth. Some held signs that said, "I was a listener." Others held old instruments, restored through Silent Strings grants. Trump stepped up to the mic first. "This isn't a concert. It's a declaration. We're not going back to forgetting the ones who suffer quietly. We're building forward, and we're doing it with sound." Eli followed. He spoke gently. "I was lost once, in the dark, and then someone listened. That's all it takes. One person who says, 'I hear you.'" He played "God Bless America" with a choir of children behind him, blind, deaf, amputees, kids with autism, kids from broken homes, all united, all singing. And in that moment, Under the glow of floodlights and fading sun, a nation remembered what it could be. That night, Trump met Eli on the steps after the crowd had gone. "You did it," he said. "No," Eli answered. "We did. You changed the country. You made it listen. What now?" "Now I teach. Now you rest." Trump smiled. "I've been ready for that a long time." But Eli shook his head. "Not yet. There's one more thing." Trump raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" Eli reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded sheet of Braille. "The kids wrote you a song. They want you to hear it before they play it live." Trump unfolded it. Couldn't read it, but understood it. "You know what it's called?" Eli asked. "What?" "The Builder Who Remembered." Trump looked down. His eyes filled. He couldn't speak. Just sat beside Eli on the steps and listened as the kids practiced in the distance, the melody soft, steady, resolute. It was a lullaby for the nation, the story of a boy no one saw, and a man who chose to kneel instead of walk away. Weeks later, a documentary premiered. It was titled Before the Music Stopped. It followed the entire journey, from the boiler room to Carnegie Hall to classrooms and cathedrals. It ended with Trump, standing alone in the Silent Strings Academy garden, hands in his pockets, staring at the sky. "You want to know the real legacy," he said to the camera. "It's not the buildings, not the rallies. It's the fact that long after I'm gone, kids will keep playing. And someone, somewhere, will feel less alone because of it." The screen faded to black. One line appeared. "When one man listens, a nation can heal." And the country did. Winter settled across the country like a hymn, silent, icy, still. But inside the walls of the Silent Strings Academy, the halls rang with life. Children rehearsed in studios. Laughter echoed off practice room doors. Hope, once a fragile flame, had become a roaring fire. Eli had taken over full-time as creative director. He moved into a cottage on campus, not far from the garden where veterans now came weekly for group music therapy. Trump didn't visit every day anymore, but he never disappeared. When he did come, it was quiet. No announcements, just a walk with Lucky, a listening ear, a small joke whispered in Eli's ear before rehearsal. "You know," Trump told Carla one afternoon as they looked out over the campus, "I've built towers, casinos, golf courses. But this feels holy." She nodded. "Because it wasn't made of steel. It was made of second chances." One snowy morning, Trump received a call. It was Eli. "I wrote something," he said. "For you. It's ready." Trump flew in that afternoon. No delay, no meetings, just one destination, the chapel at the center of campus. He sat alone in the front pew. Eli entered, sat at the grand piano. No speech, no build-up, just a quiet exhale. Then he played. The piece was called The Room No One Saw. It started with silence, then notes that felt like footsteps, cold, uncertain. Then a sudden swell, like a door creaking open. Then light, warmth, discovery. And finally, a harmony that felt like standing tall in the middle of something once broken. It ended not with applause, but with tears. Trump stood, walked to the piano, and hugged him. Tight. "You brought me back to myself," he said. "You brought us back," Eli whispered. That night, Trump gave a rare public statement, one that shocked even his allies. He announced that he would not return to politics. No campaigns, no rallies. Number 2028 speculation. "I already got my second term," he said. "It just wasn't in Washington. It was right here, listening to America find its voice again." The country reacted. Some were stunned, others relieved. But those who had followed the journey, the farmers, The teachers, the parents, the forgotten, understood. They sent messages. Thank you for knowing when to step aside, and for showing up when no one else would. Silent strings exploded overnight. Celebrities offered endorsements. Former critics wrote letters of apology. Universities began modeling music therapy programs after the academy. And in the middle of it all, Eli stayed grounded. He still walked the halls with Lucky, still taught entry-level students how to count beats on their fingers, still made time to sit with children too scared to play. "Because I was that kid," he said, "and someone waited for me to speak." Trump slowly stepped further into the background. He started writing, not a memoir, a children's book, about a dog named Lucky who finds a boy in a dark room and helps him sing. "It's fiction," he told Eli, "but every word is true." Eli laughed. "Can I write the ending?" "You already did." In the final months of the year, a new tradition began. Every December 15th, the anniversary of the day Trump found Eli, students performed a piece called "The Day Someone Listened." It became a sacred event. No phones, no cameras, just music, just memory. And every year, Trump sat in the same chair, hands folded, eyes glassy. A reminder that history isn't always written in capitals. Sometimes it's composed in kindness. One note, one child, one man who didn't walk past. And in that story, America found not just its sound again, but its soul. Years passed, seasons changed, but the music never stopped. Silent Strings became more than a national treasure. It became a symbol, a flag for the unheard, a voice for the invisible. The Academy expanded to 6 campuses, each named after a song Eli wrote during his journey. Grace Hall, the listener's wing. Room number 1 saw. Students came from every background, rich, poor, rural, urban. But inside the Academy, those labels disappeared. Here, they were simply sound, in motion. Trump remained close. Though his hair grayed and his steps slowed, his presence never wavered. He kept an office on campus, a small room filled with letters, photos, and a piano Eli had gifted him. The keys untouched, but the meaning louder than words. "I don't play it," Trump would say, "because every time I hear Eli, it's like it's playing for me." Eli matured, too. No longer the boy with timid fingers. Now, a man with firm hands and a mission bigger than himself. He turned down fame, turned down money, turned down book deals and documentaries. "This isn't about spotlight," he said. "It's about legacy." But one offer he did accept, a request to deliver a commencement speech at a major university. The theme, Leadership That Listens. His message was simple. Power without presence is empty. Leadership without listening is noise. If you want to change the world, close your eyes and hear the ones no one else can. That speech went viral, not because of who delivered it, but because it pierced something people didn't know still existed. Truth. Humility. A reminder that greatness isn't volume, it's vision. Trump watched the clip in his study, alone, then picked up the phone. "You made the world stop," he told Eli. "No," Eli said. "You made it listen first." That fall, Trump grew ill. Nothing sudden, just time catching up. He still walked the grounds, still greeted every new student, still paused in the garden where the wind chimes danced like quiet applause. But his days shortened. His energy dipped. One day, Eli found him asleep in the practice hall, head tilted back, Lucky snoring beside him. He didn't wake him, just covered him with a coat. When Trump opened his eyes minutes later, he smiled. "You always did know how to keep things warm." "Even when the world was cold," Eli said, "especially then." The Academy planned a 10-year anniversary celebration. Hundreds of students, alumni, parents, and veterans came. Every child performed a piece inspired by a memory of being heard. Trump insisted he not be in the program. "I don't want the credit," he said. "But you are the echo," Eli replied. "Without you, none of this repeats." That night, they surprised him anyway. A group of students walked on stage carrying a large banner. It read, "To the man who didn't pass by." The crowd stood. Trump stood, too, then sat slowly, eyes closed, heart full. Eli walked to the mic. "He gave us something more powerful than money or fame. He gave us his ear. He gave us his time. He gave us the belief that even in our silence, we mattered. So tonight, we play for him." What followed was the quietest, most beautiful moment in the school's history. Every student sat in stillness. Then together, in perfect unison, they played a song called "Thank You for Hearing Me." No lyrics, no lights, just raw, pure gratitude. The notes rose, carried by wind, by memory, by grace. Trump wept, openly, unashamed. And when it ended, he whispered to no one in particular, "This was the greatest deal I ever made." That winter, Trump retired quietly, stayed in a cottage near the main campus, walked the halls like a grandfather checking in on grandkids. He didn't need to be seen. He just needed to be near the sound. Eli visited every morning, sometimes to talk, sometimes to sit, sometimes to say nothing at all. "You think they'll remember us?" he asked once. Trump smiled. "Kid, they're already singing about you in places we've never even heard of." And that was enough. The snow came early that year, thick, quiet, like the earth itself was pausing to remember. On a Monday morning, the Academy woke to an announcement. Donald J. Trump had passed peacefully in his sleep. No pain, no struggle, just stillness. The flag over silent strings flew at half-mast. The hallways fell silent, but not broken. Just reverent. Eli didn't cry at first. He sat in the garden, hands folded, Lucky curled up beside him. Students gathered quietly around him. Not to speak, just to be near. The man who had once led nations, then chose instead to kneel beside a broken boy, was gone. But his sound remained. All over the campus, children played softly that day. Pianos, guitars, small drum beats that echoed like heartbeats. The board offered to host a public funeral. Eli declined. He never wanted to be the center, just the listener. Instead, they held a concert. No stage, no speeches, just music. Each piece Trump loved, each note played with gratitude. A chair sat empty at the front row. His chair, his coat draped across the back. Lucky sat beside it, ears perked. When Eli took the piano, he played Room Number 1 Saw. But this time, he added one more verse, a slow rise of notes that ended in a whisper. And silence. When it ended, there was no applause, just bowed heads, hands on hearts, and tears. That night, Eli walked to Trump's old study, sat in the leather chair, looked at the shelf where the framed sketch still hung, his childhood drawing of a piano and a man with orange hair. He smiled, then whispered, "I'll take it from here." A few weeks later, a foundation in Trump's name was announced. But not political, not corporate, just one mission: to build 10 more Silent Strings campuses by the next decade. The motto, "Lead by listening." Donations flooded in, but not from banks or businesses, from people, Americans, the same ones Trump had always said were forgotten. A janitor in Ohio gave $50. A widow in Florida gave $200 and a thank you card. A trucker in Kansas sent $20 and a note. "You kept your promise. Now we'll keep yours." Eli continued his work, teaching, touring, expanding. But every time he walked past the garden, he paused. Every time he opened the studio door, he waited for the voice that used to follow behind him with a joke or an idea. It didn't come, but something else did. A strength, a peace, a memory that wasn't fading, but growing louder. One day, he stood in front of the newest class of students, kids from every walk of life, some scared, some unsure. He said only this: "There was once a man who could have gone anywhere, done anything, but he stopped and listened, and because of that, I'm here. And now, so are you. So let's keep playing, so no one else gets left behind." And the room filled with sound, the sound of a legacy that didn't die. It multiplied, because one man didn't need a microphone to change the world. He just needed to hear the quietest voice in it. 10 years passed. The world moved fast. Technology changed. Presidents came and went. Trends rose and faded. But Silent Strings endured. Not as a program, as a promise. Over 40,000 children had been reached. Over 10,000 instruments donated. 42 countries had adopted the model. But the heart of it all still lived where it began, in the quiet halls of the original academy, where the echoes of one man's decision still hummed through every wall. Eli had become more than a teacher, more than a leader. He was a symbol. The boy in the boiler room now sat at global summits beside heads of state, speaking not with pride, but with purpose. His message remained simple. Don't look for who's talking the loudest. Look for who's being heard the least. On the 25th anniversary of the Academy, a new statue was unveiled. Bronze, life-size. It showed a young blind boy holding one hand on a piano and the other reaching out to touch the shoulder of a man kneeling beside him. Not shaking hands, not standing tall, just listening. The plaque read, "He heard me first." Eli stood beside it, surrounded by generations of students, veterans, parents, Americans. "He didn't find me because he had to," Eli said. "He found me because he chose to. He gave me what every child deserves: time, a chance, and a stage." This statue isn't just for him. It's a reminder for all of us to bend down and listen before we speak. That's how healing starts. The crowd stood in silence. Then a student orchestra began to play The Listener, the original arrangement, first played in a hospital room, now echoing into the future. That night, Eli walked the campus alone, touched every building, every bench. He entered the quiet chapel where a single light burned above the piano. He sat, let his fingers fall gently onto the keys, then played one note, just one, and whispered, "Thank you." The wind carried it, across the courtyard, through the trees, to the empty office where a coat still hung untouched on the back of an old leather chair. And then, stillness. Because there are some stories too powerful for applause, too sacred for headlines. They live not in books or statues, but in what we choose to do after, in who we choose to see, in who we stop for. This was the story of a blind boy who found his sound, and a man who remembered how to listen. One saved by music, one redeemed by mercy, and both proof that when we stop walking past, we start building what matters most. And that's where this story leaves us. For now, one boy, one man, and a reminder that every life matters, that no one is too forgotten to be heard. If this story of quiet leadership, second chances, and the power of listening moved you, let us know. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop a comment and be part of the movement. We share stories like this every week. Real hope, real change, and the moments that bring us back to who we are. Like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Together, we're keeping these voices alive, one listener at a time. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in the next story.